What's up everyone, welcome to the video. We're going road course racing once again this weekend because we're going bowling at the Glen, Watkins Glen International. This will take place on Sunday, August 20th around 3 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be honest, these road courses are starting to grow on me, which is a good thing because we have like 6 of them a year now. This is our 5th of the season. Then we'll have our 6th one to end the year at the Charlotte Roval. But I know they're not that exciting to watch, but when they're just nice long green flag runs and they're not chaotic, they are pretty projectable. And I've had some of my best races and betting weeks at the road courses this year. So I'm hoping the trends can continue, and Watkins Glen's a more technical track, hoping it's not going to be a wreck fest, but there is some playoff positioning on the line, so I guess we can't completely rule it out. But anyway, before we get into it, if this is your first time here, what's up? My name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. You'll find me live on Sunday afternoons, breaking down the entire slate, answering any questions you guys may end up having. And I'm planning on around being 1 p.m. Eastern, so if you're gonna come and say hi, I'd be more than happy to see you. And if you guys do end up enjoying today's free content, or even if you don't, consider leaving a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so, and feel free to leave a comment down below. Be nice, be mean, call me ugly. I don't really care either way, but I'd love to hear from you. And really quick, I do have to sum my stuff out a bit, but it's a free video, so I'm really not that sorry about it. But promo code CPEN on either site, Prize Picks and Underdog, gets you deposit match bonus up to $100. And I realize I'm paid to say it, but I do enjoy playing on both sites, especially on Underdog, because they're offering some NFL promos right now with Anthony Richardson over 0.5 passing yards tonight at 7 p.m. So if you're watching this video beforehand, highly recommend jumping on that. And you got to play on both sides because you got to shop lines because you're always going to get the best line at a certain book. And the one thing you can use to help you find the best in the industry is OddsJam, new sponsor. They have all the tools they need on their website and their fantasy optimizer to help you shop the best lines across all books. We don't have all the details worked out yet. I don't have any promotional codes or anything, but we'll figure that out. But again, don't forget promo code CPEN over on Prize Picks and Underdog. You can find that in the link down below in the description or the pinned comment. All right, so moving on to the strategy portion of this race. We're at Watkins Glen this week. It's a more technical road course, very similar to tracks like Coda, Road America, Sonoma, more so than the Rovals, although we're definitely going to be using the Rovals and even the Chicago Street Course when we're using comparisons and just looking at speed so far this year because not as big of a sample size of the road courses. We're not at them more than other tracks like short tracks, intermediates. So we're just going to have to take what we can get. But watching what we see in practice and qualifying can tell a very good story on who's going to be fast this weekend. But we'll have 90 laps this week, so not a lot of dominator points to go around, which means that it's the same exact strategy as last week, where you're just trying to find that fine line, that nice balance of guys with high finishing position potential that have the potential to lead some laps and get some dominator points, although it's not the absolute must, but it's a nice added bonus. And then we have to find some place differential as well, because if we looked at last week, William Byron starting in the back, I mean, he smashed his place differential. I think he started 39th and finished somewhere around 15th, which is an excellent day, around 50 fantasy points. But at the same time, we have the drivers starting in the top 4, all finish within the top 4. And it was a very green race, so that's kind of be expected because they were obviously all fast. And if there's going to be nothing crazy during the race and no penalties on pit road, they're probably going to finish up there. So it's trying to find that nice balance, and we're probably going to see something similar this week once again. So I would say pretty much however you built at Sonoma or however you built at Indy Road Course last week, or really any of the road courses this year, it's going to be the same course of action. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown portion here, I do have to mention one thing first, and that is, of course, Patreon is offering their free week trial. So if you want to come in, check out all the extra content, not that just what you see on YouTube, because there's a lot more: projections, optimizer, ownership projections, the amazing Discord community, articles, sim scores, and much, much more, all the data you need. And I do cover other sports as well, with NFL coming very soon. So I'll be excited to cover that. But if you want to come in, check it out completely for free for a week. Links down below in the description or the pinned comment for that. And as I always say, if you like it, you can stay. If not, you can tell me to kick rocks. I don't care either way. All right, so I'll start up top with the man this week that everyone is talking about. You could probably take a shot every time you hear Chase Elliott on a podcast this week or whatever it may be. He is going to be the main talking point, and he'll be the main talking point during the race because, as you all know, he is not in the playoffs. He's going to have to win to get in. And obviously, this is the perfect setup for him at Watkins Glen. Hendrick has been amazing here. Chase is good at road courses, so this is definitely his best shot to do it. And as you can see, his odds when he opened up this week at 350, I saw him at like 275, I believe, on Caesars or BetMGM. Just being completely outrageous. I do want to mention these are not the most up-to-date odds. Practice and qualifying just ended, so I don't even know where really any of these guys are. We're just going through this together for the first time. I mean, I obviously watch practice and qualifying, but outside the top 10, I just forget where guys are when I'm watching. So we'll go over it together. Just first in this reactions to the entire slate. It will have the more polished Updated thoughts on the Patreon and then the live stream tomorrow. But anyway, let's get into it here. And we got Chase at 11 on DK, 14 on FanDuel, the most expensive driver on both sites. And I thought for sure he was going to get the pole. I mean, I'm not just basing everything off of a narrative or that he's going to get it rigged, but I really did think Chase Elliott was going to get on the pole, or at least the front row, but he didn't even make it to round 2 in qualifying. He's all the way back in 15th here, so he's going to be an extremely popular play starting in 15 because he's going to offer you place differential upside. We're not really hunting for dominator points, and it's not like we have a guy like Larson on the pole or a Tyler Reddick. You have Denny Hamlin, William Byron all the way down there at 9 in the 8K range. So yeah, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., both these guys are going to have some massive ownership. So I'm probably just going to eat it on Chase. I mean, this team's going to have to gun for the win here, so they're going to be on an optimal strategy. And I have a hard time seeing him not be at least a top 5 contender here, which is going to be good enough here starting in 15th with the lack of laps. I don't really need those downer points he's going to miss out early on. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be a big fan of Chase here. And I said it last week and almost won the race, but everyone's kind of calling him washed at road courses. And I mean in the sense where he's not winning it each and every single week like he was in the Gen 6 car. But he's still running up front more than just about everybody. And if we're looking at so far this season, he has 3 top 5s. Doesn't really have the lap sled to go with it, but a 3.3 average finish, which is the best in the field. One of the best driver ratings. And if we're looking at just the next gen car in general at road courses, I mean, it's hard to find a better driver than Chase Elliott. It's a 9-race sample size, averaging the most fantasy points per race, has the best average finish, the best average running position, the most dominator points, and the most top 5. So Chase Elliott, he's not washed by any means at road courses. He is still pretty much the best in the field, just doesn't really have the wins to go for it, but I would not be surprised if he doesn't get his first win this weekend. We have Kyle Larson, $10,800, 13.5 on FanDuel. He's starting in 5th. He too, excellent at road courses. He's won the past 2 races here at Watkins Glen. Fast car in practice, fast in qualifying. I think he's a nice pivot option off of guys like Elliott and Truex because they're going to be very high owned and he's right in between them. And you're probably not going to be able to play all 3. And even playing 2 might not be the most popular thing to do. Again, have not yet my numbers, so I'm not sure how easy it's going to be able to fit in Truex and Elliott, but honestly, it probably shouldn't be too hard given their price points. But I do think Larson's a fine tournament play. Martin Truex Jr., he's starting in 19th here, $10,500. He's been good just about every single week, everywhere this year, but wasn't that amazing in practice. I was certainly expecting a lot more, and his qualifying effort kind of coincided with his practice numbers, so I'm not really sure if the 19 team has a ton of speed this weekend, which is my only concern. But as good as he's been this year, especially at road courses, it's just kind of hard to completely ignore him. Has a win, has a top 5, 2 top 10s, has the dominator points to go with it, and he's just been good every single week. So I'm not going to be avoiding Truex, but I will probably have less of him compared to Chase Elliott, but he's still going to be one of my higher owned drivers. I'm imagining projections will like him, and if he's going to be a top 10 contender starting mid-pack, he'll definitely pop quite a bit. So you got to have some interest in Truex. And then for these next 3 drivers, we can just kind of lump them together because I wouldn't say there's really much that separates these guys. They all had similar speed in practice. They're all similar price. They're starting 7, 8, 9, and all are good road course racers. So we're talking Reddick, Bell, Kyle, Busch here. I'll probably have similar exposure on all 3. I feel like Reddick will probably be the highest owned of the bunch, and rightfully so. So if you're trying to get some better ownership, being heavier on Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch might be the way to go in tournaments. But I'll tell you right now, they're all pretty much going to project the exact same for me. You can kind of even throw Michael McDowell in that group, although we got to talk about him a little bit just because he won last week, which was very nice. Thank you, McDowell. Cashed a nice plus 1,800 ticket on that. Hopefully you guys got in there as well. I mentioned on the live stream, but he's just been one of the best road course racers in the next gen car, and he's always been free on DraftKings. Like I think he was in the 7K range last week. He is finally getting some respect. Chris Buescher got respect last week being in the 9K range. McDowell has now jumped that, so he's been from, I think it was 7,500 if I remember right. Now he's at 96 and 11.5 over on FanDuel. He's starting in the top 3, and I don't see a reason not to like him. The only issue I would say is that the prices come way up because we always just got to play McDowell as a free square at road courses. You can't really do that now because you're paying an arm and a leg. Like he's just about the same price as Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, these kind of guys. So it's not as easy just to slide him in anymore. But if you are playing tournaments, I don't see a reason to believe why McDowell wouldn't be good. I mean, if you just look at the numbers at road courses for him this year so far, running position of 8.2, which is the best of all drivers, has a win, has the best driver rating. He's been in the top 3 or 4 times. And if you're looking at the next gen cars specifically, I mean, Michael McDowell is just, he's been the absolute man. He has 9 top 15s in 10 races, 7 top 10s, the third best driver rating, 9.1 running position, just overall really good numbers. So McDowell is definitely fine for tournaments, although can't really get there in cash games at that price, I don't think. Daniel Suarez, $9,500. He's in 14th. I think he'll be pretty popular this weekend just because he's an excellent road course racer. Arguably had the best car in the field last week. It was close between him, Michael McDowell, and Chase Elliott. But I think flag speed-wise, Daniel Suarez was first. But he does not look that fast according to practice. He was 23rd in the 1 lap and 21st in the 5 lap. He is a pretty good road course racer, though. We know that. And Suarez is one of those other guys that needs to win and get in, because he's got Chase Elliott right there that has the potential to win, and a couple of other drivers like AJ Allmendinger right below him. So this is definitely not a week for Daniel Suarez to be slacking. So they're going to have, I don't think they're going to be as fast as they were last week, but starting in 14th gets you a bit of an extra cushion. But the practice speeds do concern me a little bit. AJ Allmendinger, the practice speeds do not concern me in the slightest. It looks like he might have the best car in the field. He's starting in 6th. He's $9,300. If you're looking at last week's result, wasn't that pretty, but he was running very well before Ryan Blaney decided to dump him. If Ryan Blaney never dumps him, we're probably talking about another top 10 from AJ Allmendinger at a road course. But he was first in the 1 lap in practice, first in the 5 lap. I think he's an excellent tournament target. I'm hoping the ownership goes a little bit away from him because I want to be overweight. Chris Buescher, $9,100. He's starting in 13th. Probably going to be a top 10 guy. It's just the same old story for Chris Buescher at road courses. Him and Michael McDowell are just a model of consistency. Although I believe he finished 11th last week, but he did have that place differential to start with, and we didn't really have many cautions, so it's kind of hard to get to the front if you didn't start up front. But I do think Chris Buescher is an excellent tournament play. Denny Hamlin at $9,000. He's starting on the pole. He just had an excellent run through the bus stop in qualifying. I'm probably not going to be playing much Denny. I mean, I might have some in case he gets a top 5, but I feel like probably being underweight on Denny is a decently smart way to go. He was 11th in practice, 10th in the 5 lap, 6th in the 10. I don't think he's going to have the best car in the field. Not like he's really hurting for a win either. So I'm probably going to be underweight because I don't think he wins the race. And if he doesn't win the race, or at least finish top 5 with a good chunk of dominator points, I don't think it's going to be worth it because you can get Buescher starting in 13th, Dinger in 6th. There's other guys starting further back. So I think the upside with Denny Hamlin is pretty limited here. William Byron, $8,800. He's starting in 2nd. Like, if I wanted to play a driver on the front row, I think William Byron's probably the better play because it looked like he had a better car in practice. 3rd in the 1 lap, 2nd in the 5. First in the 10, and Hendrick just runs very well here. And William Byron's not a bad road course racer. I know we didn't get a top 10 or anything last week, but you have to keep in mind he started dead last, and he was still able to work his way through the field and had a pretty fast car. So I think if I had to pick between the front row drivers, it's going to be Byron for me, but I'm not sure exactly how much I'll get to. But I think Byron will pop a little bit just because I think the Hendrick cars will get some love. Ty Gibbs at $8,600. He's starting in 4th. He's an interesting tournament play, but kind of like Michael McDowell, the price did come up a bit this week. But he is a good road course racer, and he finished pretty well last week considering what happened to him early on with Joey Logano, I believe who it was, making him spin out, and he had to come all the way back from the back of the pack. But I still think he finished 12th, if I remember correctly. So Ty Gibbs, I mean, if that ever happens, we're probably talking about a top 10 from him. Starting in 4th, though, it's a little bit iffy. I think it's more likely he moves back than not, but he just have to be in your tournament radar, but I don't think he's going to pop a ton for me. Austin Cindric at $8,400. He's starting in 17th. Not the worst play, but I wish he was maybe just a bit cheaper in 17th, 12th in practice, 14th in the 5 lap. He'll probably finish pretty close to where he starts. I don't think the upside is anything crazy. He's just one of those guys you play however much the optimizer gives you. Ross Chastain at $8,200. He's free on FanDuel, starting in 22nd, but it kind of just is exactly where he was in practice. 21st in the 1 lap, 17th in the 5. We know the Trackhouse cars are supposed to be good at road courses, but Ross Chastain has just been very underwhelming. So I don't love him. I don't hate him either, but he's just one of those guys where if the optimizer wants to give me 15%, we'll play him 15% of the time. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but I'm not going to wait to play Ross. Alex Bowman last week was the absolute nuts. I thought he was going to be a lot higher owned than he was, but at $6,800, he was coming in teens in the ownership. I thought he was going to be in the 20s, but I don't think we'll ever see that price again for a Hendrick car at a road course. But hopefully we're all on that because it worked out very nice. I think he finished in the top 5. But here at $8,000, the price did come up a little bit, but I'm still a fan of Alex Bowman here and starting in 18th. I know he doesn't have quite the track position he had last week, but he was 15th in the practice, 13th in the 5, 9th in the 10, starting in 18th. I think he's got at least top 12, top 10 potential. So at $8,000, I still think it's kind of cheap. He should probably be more expensive than guys like Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric. So I'm still a fan of Bowman here, just not as much as I was last week because that pricing was a complete error. Dropping out of the 7K range, we have Joey Logano, $7,800. He's starting at 11th, so I'm not going to call him the worst play in the road because we know track position is pretty important at road courses and he is cheap. And does have a couple top 10s this year, but he did out-qualify his practice numbers, which is always a little bit concerning. So I think he probably falls back a little bit because don't forget, you have guys like Chase Elliott that have to move through the field, Martin Truex Jr., and I'm not really sure Joey Logano's got the fastest car in the world. But if he can hang on to a top 15 below 8K, I mean, it's not the worst, but there's definitely a lot of place differential he has to compete with here, which does make it a tough path. Kevin Harvick, he is super slow, as are all the SHR cars. If you look at their practice speeds, Harvick's in 35th, Chase Briscoe's 26th, Almirola, I believe, is 32nd, and Preece is 30th. So these guys have no speed this week. I think Harvick will be chalky, but there's definitely better pivots to be had. Like if you want to just pivot off of Harvick to play Logano or Bowman, I am completely fine with that, but he is a pretty safe cash play because of the floor, and the 4 team just finds a way to at least get the job done a little bit. And I mean, the job done here is probably like a 20th to 25th, which I think they're capable of doing. Ryan Blaney starting in 23rd. Pretty much the same exact speeds as Logano, just didn't qualify as well. I mean, 17th compared to 18th, 15th to 18th. Honestly, looked a little bit faster, so I could definitely see Blaney having more ownership. Chase Briscoe was really good last week, but I mean, they look really slow this weekend, which is certainly concerning. Brad Keselowski in 24th. I was kind of excited about Brad Keselowski heading into this weekend. I believe he did have a decent history at Watkins Glen. Obviously, things have changed a little bit. Not in the same team or anything. But man, he was bad. 33rd in the 1 lap, 31st in the 5, 18th in the 10, qualified 24th. I definitely have my concerns for Brad Keselowski here, so not really too excited to get to him. Dropping to the 6K range. I will never play Bubba Wallace at a road course, let alone starting in 12th. Todd Gillen in 25th. I did like him last week. He was super fast at the beginning, and then something happened, and he just went straight back. I forget what the exact issue was, but it's not like he's that bad at road courses. I don't think he's unplayable here. Starting in 25th, the ownership will certainly be low, but I do hate the price point. Eric Jones, $6,500, starting in his normal 30s at road courses, 25th in practice. Probably about the ceiling for him as a 25th outside of Carnage. I mean, you can play him because of the starting position, but definitely do not expect speed here. Austin Dillon in 16th. I mean, it's not awful. Austin Dillon's definitely gotten a lot better at road courses than he was earlier in his career, where he was just an auto fade, kind of like Bubba Wallace. But even then, if you're looking at this year's numbers, he doesn't even have one top 15 at a road course. I like the track position. I don't hate it. You can play some Austin Dillon because of the price point. You could definitely do worse here. So I'm gonna keep him in the pool as far as a cheap driver so far. Justin Haley in 20th. He's at $6,100. Don't let last week fool you. He was the first guy that just got absolutely annihilated, and he was nearly the only guy that got wrecked out of the race. 16th in practice. He qualified 20th. I think him and Austin Dillon are probably some of the better cheap plays. I know they don't offer the place differentials, so they're not going to look as good, but they have track position, and honestly, I think they can kind of hold ground. So it does make them appealing, especially if they're going to be lower owned. Ricky Stenhouse, 28th. Practice in 24th. Probably going to be anywhere around 20th to 30th all day. So I mean, he's cheap with place differential, but that's about all I can say. Eric Almirola's in the same exact boat. And I know he finished like last weekend, but he was running 19th, ran out of gas. I think 2 laps to go, so killed his day. But, I mean, it doesn't look like he's going to have any speed. Same can be said for Ryan Preece. Now, Mike Rockenfeller back here, $5,500 in Noah Gragson's car. He's in 21st, but that's pretty much on par with practice. So if he's going to be able to hang around the top 25 at $5,500, I guess we don't hate Mike Rockenfeller. I mean, it's not exciting, but it could definitely be worse. Cole Custer in 34th. I mean, it's going to be tough to play Cole Custer. I mean, he's in junk equipment. He's not the worst road course racer in the world, but I mean, you're getting desperate if you're playing Cole Custer. Corey LaJoie starting in 10th. He was super fast. Like, it was some pretty odd speed that we saw from him. He was second in the 1 lap, 4th in the 5 lap in practice. Starting in 10th makes it extremely rough. But if he can hang in the top 15, like if this is a long green race, I don't think he's going to hold top 10. I think he will fall back. But if he can like stay within the top 15, I mean, he could do worse in the 5K range. Like, would you rather play LaJoie finishing 14th, or would you rather have like Ryan Preece finishing 27th? Like, I'd rather have Corey LaJoie in that scenario. So don't completely write him off, even though he is starting that far up. Harrison Burton, no thank you. Super slow. Andy Lawley, no thanks. Ty Dillon, Josh Bilicki, I'll see you later. But with that being said, guys, that's all I got for you this week. So I hope you did enjoy, and even if you didn't, consider leaving a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Don't forget, you can get a free week of Patreon, link down below in the description or the pinned comment. Hope to see you all on the live stream tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.